Hey everybody, how's it going? I wanted to make a video today for those of you, maybe you're new to prep and you're just starting out. You may see or hear some terms, phrases, maybe you don't really understand. A lot of times it'll just be letters. Some of it can be a little confusing if you don't know really what it means. I wanted to go over some of these today, just some of the basic things. I made a list here because I knew if I didn't, as soon as I started making this video, I'd go blank. I wouldn't be able to remember all this. So I made a list of some of these things. You may hear the phrases bugging in and bugging out. Bugging in is just literally just staying in your house if something has happened. And that's really what you should try to do. I mean, if you don't just absolutely have to leave your house, it's best to stay there. That's where all your supplies, everything's at. You want to try to stay in your house if it's at all possible. Bugging out is when you have to leave the house, something bad has happened and you can't stay there. There could be some sort of a threat. Maybe, it could be something like a wildfire's coming toward your house. Obviously you need to get out. There's been maybe a storm, maybe an earthquake, the house is damaged, it's structurally unsound, it's not safe to stay in, you need to get out. Anything like that, that's bugging out. You may hear BOB, that's a bug out bag. You sometimes will hear PSK, which stands for Personal Survival Kit. They're basically pretty much the same thing. A bug out bag or a personal survival kit is just, it's typically going to be a backpack, maybe a duffel bag, something like that with some supplies in it that you'd need to survive. A lot of times they're geared just for a few days. It's not really necessarily a long term, it's just really sort of a short term event, what a bug out bag is geared toward. But it's just a set of supplies that you've got already pre-packaged, they're ready to go. You have them in a bag where you can just grab it and go. You don't have to run around the house trying to pick up things and pack it up in all your bug out bag or personal survival kit. It's ready to go. It's a grab and go kit. You may hear BOL. That is a bug out location. This is where you need to already have this planned out, where you're going to go if something happens and you need to leave home. This can be a property that you own somewhere away from where you live. A lot of times they're several miles away. This can be a property you own. It could be a relative or a close friend. You've made arrangements. You can go there and stay with them. They may have the deal, they can come stay with you if something happens in their area. That's a bug out location. You need to have this already planned out. You need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there if something happens. And it's really best to have multiple routes planned, how you can get to this location just in case anything happens. You need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there. Another thing is BOV. That's a bug out vehicle. This is typically going to be a pretty stout vehicle. You want something really with a full frame under it. 4-wheel drive is preferable. You don't really want to try using, a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic, something like that. They're just not stout enough to hold up. You want a good stout vehicle, full frame, and 4-wheel drive is preferable to have for a bug out vehicle that you can get out and get where you need to go. You may hear EMP. That's the electromagnetic pulse. This generally refers to an atomic explosion that would happen up in the atmosphere, a nuclear bomb going off. It creates an EMP. It'll fry electronics. The full effect, what one would do, is really not known because there's never been one. So exactly what would be destroyed, how bad it would be, nobody really knows, but it's pretty certain there would be electronics that would be damaged, things would no longer work. It's just not fully understood what the full extent of an EMP would be, but that's an electromagnetic pulse. You may hear FIFO, F-I-F-O. That's first in, first out. This typically refers to your supplies, things like food, water, fuel, anything like that that you've got supplied or stored up in a supply. You want to use what came in first. You want to use that first. You keep this in your rotation. You don't just go buy a bunch of stuff, set it up, say, okay, I'm covered. You put this into regular rotation and keep it moving. And whatever comes in first, you use that first. That way it's not sitting there going old, getting old, going bad. That's what that means, FIFO, first in, first out. You may hear IFAK. That's an individual first aid kit. This is usually going to be sort of a smaller kit that you carry with you. It's going to have some of your basics in there, Band-Aids, things like that for smaller cuts. It's a lot of times it's also going to have a tourniquet in there. It'll have maybe what they call an Israeli bandage, some quick clots, something like that for more severe wounds, stuff like a gunshot wound, a stab, something like that. That's an individual first aid kit. You may hear inch bag, INCH. Now an inch bag means I'm never coming home. This is a bag that you've got where something has happened and you leave and you never have the intention of coming back home again. It's bad enough that you're leaving with no plans on returning. This is something you're going to need. You're going to need a lot of stuff in this. You need copies, things like birth certificates, things like that, so you can reestablish yourself when you get wherever it is you may be going, because this is the bag you use when something really bad has happened and you have no intention of ever coming back home again. That's your inch bag. I know you've probably heard SHTF. I guess everybody probably knows what that means, but that literally translates to shit hits the fan. That means something bad has happened. That's what that means, SHTF. You may hear TEOTWAWKI. That stands for the end of the world as we know it. That could be a financial collapse, the collapse of the economy, where we may be using some gold and silver again. We may be on sort of a barter economy. It could be something like that. It could be maybe a long-term collapse of the power grid. That wouldn't be the end of the world. It'd be the end of the world as we know it, though. Something like that. That's what that stands for. You may have heard ROL, WROL. That means without rule of law. That's when something's happened. We've basically, law and order has broken down. There's no more calling 911, getting police or sheriff out there. You're pretty much, people in your community, you have to deal with whatever's going on. You're in a ROL event without rule of law. You may hear YOYO, YOYO. That simply stands for you're on your own. A lot of times this refers to maybe something's happened. You were supposed to meet up with your group. All of you going to get out, and for whatever reason you were late showing up. And now you're on your own. And you have to make a decision now. Do you try to go it by yourself? Do you try to get somewhere on your own? Do you try to catch up with the rest of the group? Whatever the situation, YOYO means you're on your own. So that's just a few of the basic things you may hear if you're new to prepping, trying to get ready. I just wanted to make this video. Maybe this will help you out. Maybe it'll explain some of it where you'll understand these terms a little better. Hope the video helped. Thanks for watching.